Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, agents. I'm Matty Carl, and welcome to another Let's Talk right here on The Division. This is part 2 of my State of the Game address, elaborating on some of the things Skill Up's masterful work over on his channel did, and deep diving into some of the deeper problems, and giving my own take on what I think are some of the bigger problems. And I don't want to duplicate a lot of what he did, so I'm kind of going ahead and going off into a different direction, because I went through and I looked at his video, and I said, these are the problems that he thinks that are there, and I have some other ideas, but I think that those are all very good ideas, and I need to kind of go ahead and branch out and just elaborate on some of the other problems that are plaguing the game. Now, since Massive has been on holiday, we haven't actually gotten a word in the last few weeks on a state of the game, on a real state of the game, and so I have to take a step back. I am a problem solver, and I see a problem and I want to fix it. So this video is going to be strictly me commenting on the issues and not making suggestions like I did in part 1. I felt like I really got off on a tangent, which is why there is a part 2. Now, these aren't community gathered. This is just my personal opinion taken from whether it's Reddit or whether it's the comment section of my videos or the Ubisoft forum. This is all of my observation, not the community's whatsoever. I just like to make that perfectly clear. And please go watch part 1 of my video, because that will help you understand why there is a part 2 and why we're going to be diving into it. Now, let's get into the topics. Issue 1, gear set metas in the game, and more importantly in the Dark Zone. So my issue, and I want to elaborate on it like I did in part 1, but gear sets and the fact that only 1 or 2 sets are actually really viable and relevant to players in the PvP area of the game is an issue. The issue here is the same as previous times where players would run an SMG and an M1 combination because it was the best combo in the game and it was the only way to survive. It provided very little variety outside of this, and if you wanted to have a different playstyle than someone else, you are probably going to get wrecked. My point is that to stay alive and remain competitive in the Dark Zone, you need to wear one of the 2 current metas, and that's not how the game should be. You should have choices as to what you want to do, not what everybody else is doing. And if everybody else is doing one thing and that is the only way you're going to survive, then that's really how it is. And I don't believe that that's how Massive wanted it when they created these gear sets. I don't believe they wanted it to be 1 or 2 super powerful pieces of gear and everything else was garbage. You don't need to run a meta in order to run the Underground and be successful, as I have shown you previously in builds of taking really horrible gear sets and making them great, because anyone can make a build and make a great PvE build out of the garbage, since that is really just a numbers game when it comes down to it. And sure, you don't get the perks that you want, but that doesn't really matter. The numbers are what matters. PvP is made in such a way that while aim plays a factor, having a group and running a Reclaimer or Sentry is going to yield the best results. That's just the way it is, and it is the sad state of the game that that's how it is, that there's only 2 real pieces of gear sets in the game that really help you to be victorious in the Dark Zone. Now, I know people that run Deadeye that can one-shot people, and that's another story, but they're few and far between. You really need to know how to run that. Issue number 2, gear grinding. Now, Skill Up put out the issue of the PvE Dark Zone, and I touched on a bit in my part 1 video, but I went off on a wild tangent where I pretty much just redesigned the Dark Zone and made it the utopia everyone wants. So Massive, if you're watching this video, go back to my part 1, and if you want to understand what people want out of a PvE Dark Zone and a PvP arena, go watch that, because I really just gave you all the designs that you need, and you can go ahead and fire your designer and just, use that as what you want to go off of. The real issue here is the gear grinding. Right now, there is very little to do that doesn't involve gear grinding. People are motivated to grind for gear and get the best gear possible. There is so much bad gear out there that it requires many hours of work to get and to actually produce a decent gear piece. And even then, it still may require additional time and credits to produce one that has optimal stats at the recalibration station. I remember going through the story mission portion of the game, and I was not interested in getting gear. I was interested in playing the story mission and getting the story mission so that I could, figure out what was going on. I was interested in the gameplay because at that point the gear wasn't important. The mission was, and getting the story down. Now we reach the end game and the gear is all that matters. Players will gravitate toward the path of least resistance where they can get the best gear in the quickest amount of time possible. Right now that currently stands as the 4 Horsemen, and I don't truly believe that Massive built the 4 Horsemen section of Dragon's Nest to be played over and over again without completion. The problem with this is that it creates repetition and burnout in the fastest time possible, and that also breeds resentment for those players who are unwilling or cannot farm these areas, alienating once again another portion of the community that you have built. We saw this happen in 1.1 with glitches and exploits, and the players that left because they couldn't keep up with the glitchers and exploiters who would go into the DZ and then kill them with gear acquired through glitches and exploits. It was the biggest complaint I heard in 1.1 why people were leaving, and that was that they couldn't compete with the people who were just going and running Falcon's Lost and getting the best gear. But nothing has changed. It's still the same, just the method of how you obtain the gear has. I would even go far as to say that while Ubisoft recognizes 0 exploits in the game, this is most definitely an exploit because it's being used in such a fashion as to create an unfair balance to those players who aren't able to do it. Not everybody can do this. It takes some skill to be able to go in and farm 4 horsemen, and that's why it's such an exploit. It is an exploit, and while Skill Up won't call for it to be fixed, I'm going to call for it to be fixed. It needs to be fixed because it's creating an unfair balance in the game. It's creating those who can do it with their friends and those who cannot because they don't have the ability to do it, or they're a new player or something like that. I do believe it's an exploit, but it is in the game, and currently the number one way to get a lot of gear really fast. And because Ubisoft doesn't, figure out that it's an exploit, it's not an exploit. So that goes on to my number 3 issue. Issue number 3. There are no exploits in the game. Now, this one is just silly because we see exploits popping up all the time. We all see stuff that we consider exploits. Looking at the page that displays the current list of exploits, I have never once seen an exploit listed on that page. There is a page on the Ubisoft forums that says, here is the list of known bugs and exploits that are considered exploits. I'm sure they feel that posting them on that page will only encourage people to use it, but completely ignoring the issue is worse than posting it to your page. It's like seeing a crime, having it reported, and then just sitting there watching it happen and saying that there's no crime going on. The game is full of exploits and bugs, and yet Ubisoft feels the need to ignore them after saying that they would come down hard on exploiters in the game. It would seem that they have taken to the stance of, well, we weren't wrong when we said that we would ban exploiters, but if there aren't any exploits we recognize, we can't really ban anyone. So there you have it. That is really the hard line here with the exploits, is that Ubisoft is turning their blind eye away from it because they already know the player numbers are dropping and they don't want to start banning people for fear it will just make their numbers drop further. So they want to keep the game going, they want to keep people happy, so they're not going to call out exploits. There are several reasons that's why that's the case, but that is really what it is. So go ahead and exploit the crap out of the game because that is what Ubisoft is telling you by not recognizing any of the exploits as exploits right now. Issue number 4, rewards for HVTs. This, if anything, should be number 1 on my list, and because these aren't in any order, this one is just here at number 4, and it really is something that Massive needs to fix, but people are disappointed with the rewards for various events that have been put into the game to help alleviate solo players and people who don't want to get gear from the Dark Zone. This is most directly related to the HVT missions and the fact that the HVT not only drops some of the worst reward rolls in the game, but that it also drops Lone Star loot only from the reward. The HVT mission was made at the request of being able to have something to do either as a solo person or have something that yielded rewards that people not wanting to the Dark Zone, and it just happened that neither of those issues were resolved by this because of the horrible rewards you get for it. And I know that this was the Bullet King tribute event or whatever the crap is that they justified putting this in the game, and we were all excited when they put this in the game, and then week after week, month after month, we went through and we saw that we were only getting one type of gear. And the fact is that these are really only achievable once a week, and the rewards claimed once a week. You can only do it once a week. The rewards being Lone Star has surely been a sense of discord within the community for quite some time now, and it's caused people to stop doing something that was actually fun in the game. Many players still do it, but mainly because of the fun factor for it and not the actual reward for performing the action, because it takes takes some time. You have to go out and gather intel, then you have to find a group, and that's the other thing is this was made because people were going out and farming Bullet King, and they really wanted to go and do something and have fun and be able to get the gear, but this should be soloable no matter what. Like, the problem that I have is that when you do it, you run out of ammo by yourself. Like, this is very much a soloable activity. The problem is that you run out of ammo and you cannot complete the event in the time required because the time to kill is too high. And that's another whole issue, and we're going to move on to issue 5, which also taps into the whole ammo thing. Issue 5, ammo and item storage. Let's just say item storage isn't really a factor, but grenades are limited and so are other resources, and the fact that you need an exploit like the backpack glitch to achieve getting more is something that needs to be fixed. And I'm calling right now for a paramedic and ammo backpack fix, police backpack fix, whatever you want, and not because of why you think it is. So hold with me before you get out the pitchforks and the torches, because I only want them fixed under a certain condition. The reason I'm hitting this last is because I want to actually comment and deep dive and suggest something more in 1.4 to help alleviate the problem of ammo. Ammo is by and large the biggest commodity issue. Stock boxes or restock boxes need to be placed all around the levels, and you constantly need to switch out your gear just to make sure you have enough ammo to complete the level. Even with an ammo bag, it's still not enough ammo, and that's not something we should be saying in a game where it takes almost all of your ammo to get through one little slice of the underground, because enemies have a ton of armor. It takes 200-300 rounds to bring down one of the guys, and when you have 4 people, or 14 enemies in an area, that's a lot of rounds to be shelling out. I think the biggest issue is that someone forgot the very fundamental piece, and Underground was made by another developer and not Massive, so it's very possible that this was forgotten in the design doc, and my suggestion here is to put it back in. But when playing through the original story, enemies dropped ammo for players to pick up. However, somewhere in the end game, in the incursions, in the underground, and in the DZ, it would seem that enemies decided to only carry a clip, and that clip of ammo would dissolve when they died, and they wouldn't drop any ammo. And actually, I've seen recently, in the Dark Zone, they still drop ammo, but I'm finding it hard to see ammo drops in the area of the incursions, and I've never seen ammo drop in the underground off of anything. There's no guys that drop ammo. And ammo is part of the reason why the underground is so hard and why you need ammo constantly to get through it. In the underground, I have never seen a single enemy drop ammo, and I have never been able to pick up ammo from those ammo caches that we need to shoot in order to get through the level. Why it's timed mission, I'll never know, but no enemies dropping ammo is a huge part of the problem. It's even 50% of the ammo dropped, or 50% of the enemies dropped ammo. No one would be complaining they don't have enough because they would constantly be getting more and more ammo. But ammo boxes are the only source of ammo in the underground, those restock boxes, that's what I'm talking about, in the underground, and I think that it may have just been an oversight. This could very well be a bug that nobody's dropping ammo. Like the directive, sure, if you put on the waste not, want not directive, that should make it so the enemies don't drop ammo. But right now, no enemies drop ammo, even if that's not off. Now, to fix the ammo issue, and here's where I'm going to go ahead and start filling in the design that I said I wouldn't do at the very beginning, but I think it's very warranted that I go ahead and give you my idea, since I'm calling for the fix on paramedic and the police backpack. But I think that taking off ammo, XP, and credit gains from the items that we currently have and moving them to their own equipment ammo pouch slot would be a great idea. Adding in ammo pouches to hold a different amount of ammo and additional ammo would make it so that you can carry, different things, and would give you additional ammo and the ammo you need. So let me go ahead and explain what I mean by that. We would have 3 ammo slots. They would just fit it in to the side. They make everything smaller, scoot over the AI, or put it in a different area where you could carry 3 ammo bags. Take all the additional ammo off. Lone Star would still be in effect, but take all of the additional ammo stuff off of that, off the equipment, all XP gains, all stuff, move it over to these new ammo slots, and make ammo pouches hold a certain amount of additional ammo, and you could even make it so that you carry only certain types of grenades, ammo types, beans, water, whatever you want. You could limit the inventory to that piece, and actually you could have different bags. In fact, start the user off with one item and make them earn the other slots as they go along. This would be great for survival, since that's essentially what it comes down to. Having 3 ammo bag slots can let the players choose. You can now have 3 ammo bags if you want the maximum amount of ammo, and it would take place of the grenade in your other inventory slots. So you wouldn't have grenades, or you wouldn't have, the fire incendiary. I don't even know what that's called, but the ammo would take the place. You would just essentially have no room for that stuff. And you can have like 2 ammo bags and 1 grenade bag, which would give you, double the ammo and a slot up for all of the grenade wheels, so you'd be able to get 3 grenades on that. Or you can have 1 ammo, 1 grenade, and 1 equipment bag, and it would be like what you have now. Giving the players the choice will ultimately be more popular than making it a set number. If you don't want ammo, but you want to have 9 grenade types, then let you have 3 grenade bags. Let the player choose to carry 3 grenade bags, so you can have 9 of each grenade. Now, I know that's not going to be very useful for you in PvP, but it'll be useful in the underground. And if you can survive with like the minimum amount of ammo that you can carry on the regular, whatever it is, 700 or 700 rounds or something like that, and you can survive with that in the underground, and you want the 9 grenades, then let's just go ahead and give you 9 grenades. That's what you want, and that's what you can have. That's just the easiest way. Now, it would force people running Reclaimer to run, less ammo, because that's what it is. But, we're all asking for this, all we're asking for is for that Massive to open the design doc and put in a few things that allow the players to expand their inventory to how they want to play it. If they want to be a grenade machine, or they want the extra explosive bullets, water, cans of beans, and anything like that, let them play that way. If they don't want the extra ammo, don't give it to them. But if they want it, let them have 3 ammo bags and make it so that it's a part of the build factor into it. So that's been my time, and I may eventually do a part 3 if needed, but I wanted to go ahead and touch on some of these subjects. I know it's long and lengthy, but as I sat down to write a response to an email that I got, which will be coming in a future video, probably next week, I remembered I had not done a part 2, and I would have done it yesterday. So thank you for everybody that's watching this, and if you found this video interesting, consider dropping a like, or at least finding it entertaining, and consider subscribing for continued coverage on The Division. And for all of us here at The Division Let's Talk, I've been Mountie Carl, and we'll see you again in the underground. Agent out.